Pharaoh had had two very disturbing dreams, and none of the astrologers, stargazers, and wise men of Egypt could interpret them. Consequently, he was troubled, and all his royal courtiers were troubled along with him. The turmoil was palpable. Then, like a drunkard regaining sensibilities the morning after, the butler remembered Joseph, the young Hebrew, who had interpreted his dream in prison. With a great sense of urgency and importance, he rushed to the palace. The guards let him in, and bowing before Pharaoh, the butler said, "I remember my faults this day." He then told Pharaoh about Joseph, how he had interpreted his dream in prison. Pharaoh's countenance brightened, a smile twitching his face. He looked about the expansive room until his gaze settled on his chief of staff. "Go fetch the young Hebrew," he commanded with regal dignity. "Yes, your royal highness," said the chief of staff, and bowed out of his presence. A handful of royal courtiers rushed after the chief of staff. Amongst them were the king's barber, the perfumer, head of protocol, the king's designer, and of course, the fellow in charge of the king's horses and chariots. 2 chariots were quickly mobilized, along with dozens of royal guards. The bugle blower sounded the bugle, and the chariots and the horsemen careered off to the king's prison, which was a few hundreds of meters away. The summon was exceedingly urgent and must be executed swiftly. "Joseph, Pharaoh has summoned you to the palace," the chief of staff said to Joseph with stern finality, like a man who must be obeyed. "I am at your service, sir," Joseph replied. The royal dresser stepped forward and said, "First, we are taking you to one of the royal baths, and you will have a quick shower, and I will dress you up more decently." Joseph rode in one of the chariots with a number of courtiers, taking turns to explain to Joseph royal protocols and courtesies. It felt like a dream, but it was no dream. "My day has finally come," Joseph said under his breath. At the royal bath, the king's barber gave him a quick shave before he washed in the pool very quickly, and Joseph was dressed in new apparels, and he looked dandified, and his looks shone for all to see. He perfumed and was briefly lectured again on palace protocols and courtesies, and they rushed Joseph before Pharaoh. The exalted king, who was then the most powerful king in the world, smiled and signaled to Joseph to sit in the chair facing the throne. Pharaoh liked him. Joseph radiated a pleasing aura, and the king thought to himself fleetingly, "He is young and handsome, a true Hebrew." Then he said to Joseph, "I had a dream last night, and no one here can tell me what it means. But I have heard that when you hear about a dream, you can interpret it." "It is beyond my power to do this," Joseph replied. "But God can tell you what it means and set you at ease." So Pharaoh told Joseph his dream. "In my dream," he said, "I was standing on the bank of the Nile River, and I saw 7 fat, healthy cows come up out of the river and begin grazing in the marsh grass. But then I saw 7 sick-looking cows, scrawny and thin, come up after them. I have never seen such sorry-looking animals in all the land of Egypt. These thin, scrawny cows ate the 7 fat cows. But afterward, you wouldn't have known it, for they were still as thin and scrawny as before. Then I woke up. In my dream, I also saw 7 heads of grain, full and beautiful, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 more heads of grain appeared, but these were blighted, shriveled, and withered by the east wind. And the shriveled heads swallowed the 7 healthy heads. I told these dreams to the magicians, but no one could tell me what they mean." Joseph responded, "Both of Pharaoh's dream mean the same thing. God is telling Pharaoh in advance what he is about to do. The 7 healthy cows and the 7 heads of grain both represent 7 years of prosperity. The 7 thin scrawny cows that came up later and the 7 thin heads of grain withered by the east wind represent 7 years of famine. This will happen just as I have described it, for God has revealed to Pharaoh in advance what he's about to do. The next 7 years will be a period of great prosperity throughout the land of Egypt. But afterward, there will be 7 years of famine, so great that all the prosperity will be forgotten in Egypt. Famine will destroy the land. This famine will be so severe that even the memory of the good years will be erased. As for having 2 similar dreams, it means that these events have been decreed by God and he will soon make them happen. Therefore, Pharaoh should find an intelligent and wise man and put him in charge of the entire land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh should appoint supervisors over the land and let them collect 1/5 of all the crops during the 7 good years. Have them gather all the food produced in the good years that are just ahead and bring it to Pharaoh's storehouses. Store it away and guard it so there will be food in the cities. That way there will be enough to eat when the 7 years of famine come to the land of Egypt. Otherwise, this famine will destroy the land. Joseph's suggestions were all well received by Pharaoh and his officials. So Pharaoh asked his officials, "Can we find anyone else like this man, so obviously filled with the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, clearly no one else is as intelligent or wise as you are. You will be in charge of my court, and all my people will take orders from you. Only I, sitting on my throne, will have a rank higher than yours." Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the entire land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his hand and placed it on Joseph's fingers. He dressed him in fine linen clothing and hung a chain around his neck. Then he had Joseph ride in the chariot reserved for his second in command. And wherever Joseph went, the command was shouted, "Kneel down." So Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of all Egypt. And Pharaoh said to him, "I am Pharaoh, but no one will lift a hand or foot in the entire land of Egypt without your approval." Glory be to God. Hallelujah. Wouldn't you say, awesome God? Just like that, Joseph transited from a common war-betide prisoner to the second in command in Egypt. In spite of the pain, the troubles, and trauma of serial betrayals, in spite of the delay of 13 years, the dreams he had had as a teenager finally came to pass. What are you expecting God to do for you? What is your dream? Though it tarries, though obstacles dog your way, if you do not compromise and continue to believe, it will come to pass just like Joseph's dream came to pass. Your narrator has been Chimnewton, Senior Pastor of the Gift of Life Mission International. Shalom.